exactly what I want to talk about. I talked to somebody this morning. They said, we need to hear more success stories. You're not spiking the football. You're inspiring others. Talk more about that stuff.
Spike the shit out of the football.
3, 2, 1. We are in, I think. We are in.
Shaka Laka.
I had are you surviving? Are you frozen, first of all?
Dude, I'm not going outside.
Yeah. You can't. You just can't.
That's my life philosophy these next 2 days.
I've been frozen all morning. Like the dog, it's bad. It's bad. Like when the dogs won't even go out.
Yeah.
They're like, no. And I have 2 rescue dogs from Alabama, which doesn't help things.
Right.
But now they're just like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Sorry.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Oh.
Yo, real quick, see this, by the way?
What's that? Oh,
it's alive.
Sneak preview. I love it. This gets redundant, but I'm just going to start with this. What a freaking week, man. It's just, what's happening is, for me, and you and I, like you and I have unearthed more opportunities together in the last 7 days than we did over the previous, 7 months together?
Honestly, yeah.
Is that fair? And I had this feeling, I'm going to go back to talking about my process in a minute, but I had this feeling, I think we talked about it in mid-December. Like I didn't want to pee in anybody's cornflakes before the holidays, but I think I voiced this on the show that I just knew we were going to be entering into a dark period right after the first of the year. Like we just knew, just once the buzz of the holiday season kind of subsided, and there was just really bleak, COVID numbers, all of that was kind of leading up to what we thought was going to be a pretty dark 2 to 3 week period. And it was. I'm just speaking out of personal, just my personal opinion. I hit a funk about 2 weeks ago, and I was reading an article about this last week, that was like a real thing. Like there was like a collective community funk, like that first Monday or Tuesday. It was bitter cold. We hadn't seen the sun in what felt like forever, like 45 days, and it just was hanging on me. But the moment I gave myself permission, I know we talked a little bit about this last week, but I want to just bring it full circle, is giving yourself the permission to get into that funk, but also knowing, and this is where I want to go with the question, but also knowing that the process that you and I had put in place and the process that I put in my own place, trusting the process was so important, because you knew you had to have that infrastructure in place in order to pull yourself out of it. So for me, you can't eat this. You have to make the sausage before you put it on the grill, like you have to go through that grinder of figuring out what works for either yourself. And if you are going to do some co-branded stuff like you and I do, I have a couple other partners I do some co-branded stuff with. If you're going to put together those sort of opportunities, or look for those sort of opportunities, you have to put together the infrastructure. So for me, I was able to pull myself out pretty quickly, because I knew as soon as I got back to, eating well and hitting the gym and doing my stretching and going to bed at a reasonable hour and doing all of my kind of health related stuff, all my check marks, it's amazing how fast it snapped. And these last 10 to 14 days have been the most fun probably in my entire professional career.
I mean, yeah, man, it's, it's almost not boring to talk about, but it's just exactly the thing. Like there's a reason that we were talking about how in August, September, October, the work that you did then is going to dictate the success you have now. Mm-hmm. And I think you're seeing that, for better or for worse in a lot of cases. Like my head has been spinning the last 2 days. I feel like we were on fucking 6 Zooms together yesterday. Yeah. All potential new client stuff, and then we probably had another 5 or 6 just in here, and it's interesting. You always bring up these topics without fucking telling me that are just spot on to what we're going through. But it's just all of the work and all of the hours and all of the trial and error that has gone into our process now is exactly why we're able to have those conversations. Mm-hmm. And like you were on one with me yesterday. People ask like, so what do we do? And I'm like, we're a marketing department for hire that helps you sell more stuff. Great. How do you do that? We get to know you. We get to know what our goals are. And then we map out how we're going to get there. Mm-hmm. And then if we do that, head down for 12 months and then look up and we hit those goals, everybody's happy and high-fiving, which granted is a very, very, very simplified explanation of what we do, but it's really not. That's what we do. And then I send somebody like the sample documents that we have drawn up and they're like, shit, okay. And here we are. So it's just, yeah, dude, it's an awesome feeling being overwhelmed with good shit and new clients and new dollars and new growth coming in. So it's
for me, it's just, you know what it is? It's those 20 to 25 conversations that you're always having with people that are prospects. Like I have this list. I have an email folder that I keep, and it's just labeled prospects. It's people that have either pinged me or I've reached out to them and said, hey, you want to go get something to market, or you need some strategic help, or you need some advisory help, or, just want to talk to somebody that's a professional, et cetera. Like I'm having all those conversations. Like the funnel, every morning I open up my email right now. It's somebody that emails me at 1:30 in the morning saying, hey, I was just thinking about you. Can we rekindle our conversation? Can we have a call this week? And I've gotten I'm not even kidding, 8 of those this week. And every single morning, every single time Siobhan walks in the door, she's like, how was your day? I'm like, incredible. It was just incredible. And all of a sudden, it's 12:30 right now. I felt like I just woke up at 6 o'clock this morning, and my pen and my fingers are on fire from just all these opportunities. And I'm going, it's trust. And this is why I love it, because it's trust the process, build it and trust it, because it will work. You and I said last year, we wanted to do more co-branded stuff together. We feel as though we work well together. We have 2 very different skill sets that are needed onto a team, on a team that works well. And just like I said, within the last 7 days, we've had yeah, you're right, 7 Zooms yesterday. It felt like we have more Zooms this afternoon to talk about. But it's putting that out into the world and not being crippled when somebody says, no, I don't see value in what you guys are proposing, maybe down the line. And then when they pick up the phone down the line, they say, okay, now it's time to talk. It's flattering and it's exhilarating at the same time.
Well, I mean, I just think that it's just all the stuff we talked about, and I laugh because I've really, really focused on our LinkedIn stuff recently. And I just look at some of the shit that's out there, and everybody's just promising these magic bullet things with these online courses and these secret tips to gain countless, so many you can't count them, high ticket clients that are warmed up and ready to sign. And it's just horseshit. It's just people trying to, scam people into money. And it's I posted it on a LinkedIn story the other day. I'm like, stop fucking doing this. It doesn't work. It never has. It never will. Just stop being lazy and just do the work. And, it's almost like I'm sick of myself saying it, but it's just true. You look at, we're literally a year into this, probably to the date almost.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It comes from just talking to as many people as you can and knowing what your value proposition is and constantly refining it. You know, like I look at the calls that you and I had yesterday, and if I had rolled into those like every other marketing agency that these people talk to, I mean, hell, one of them brought it up unsolicitedly. He's like, I've worked with a lot of different marketing companies, and they all, just first question out of their mouth, what's your budget? And like, honestly, I think they're just trying to work up to whatever I say. And I'm like, yeah, probably. And then he's like, we've worked with a half dozen, and frankly, they've all yielded zero. And I'm like, yep, that makes sense. And it's just the process of, like, it's easy now for me to have that conversation and discuss our value proposition without sounding like one of those slime ball agencies. And then B, being able to put some very easy to follow, unconvoluted documents in front of them to actually show them, like, this is the amount of work that's going to go into your stuff. And then be like, fuck, okay. Like, that's easy now because we haven't stopped working on that for the last 12 months. And we won't stop for the next 12 months because all of our shit's going to change because that's just the industry that we're in. But like, that's just the answer, and it's the same way it's the answer for us. It's the answer for everybody that we work with now and we're ever going to work with. And when you have that kind of patience and you have that kind of, confidence that you'll figure it out. And, just like you're saying, that commitment to that, everything gets really easy. And it's wild where I just don't sweat it if we get a no, or if I can tell someone's not going to be into that. Great. We got 7 more people that we need to talk to. One of the proposals that I got to get out by next week is somebody that we've had a working relationship with literally for years. And we had casual conversations, but just the vibe, like, they weren't in a spot where they're ready to hire us. They're ready to hire us now. And because they're ready to hire us now, and they know us and they know what we're capable of, and they know how we roll, that once we have them, we'll have them forever.
Yep.
We will. And we'll have them forever, which, like, great, new client, new revenue, awesome. But it also just expands that network, and it gets you in front of more people that are going to think, act, and see the world the same way. And not enough people understand that. You know what I mean? You and I were talking about it yesterday. One of the people we were talking to, we're not going to get rich on that client at all, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out if you can get your foot in the door there and do, spoiler alert, what we know we're capable of. It's not hard to see both, like, the medium and long-term returns on that.
And the reason I'm laughing is because I'm sitting here trying to sell it to you on the phone yesterday, and the vibe I'm feeling from you is like, I don't need selling on the value prop, Ben. I don't need selling on the value prop. He goes, what you wanted to say, but you're too polite of a guy to say it, is, I know I know how to fly close to the sun. I don't need any training there. But it's true. It's true. And I think, my thesis heading into this spring and into this summer is we are going to be on, and I'm not getting political, we don't do this on this show, but we are on the precipice of something that's going to happen to this economy, whether it be mid, late summer. We are on the precipice of the next roaring 20s. Mark my words. What's today? January 29th, 2021. When you and I are doing this, January 29th, 2022, we got to go back to this video and say, Ben was right, because we are on the precipice of the roaring 20s. People are going to go, myself included, Siobhan included, our friends included, you included, everybody included. It is going to be a nonstop party once everything settles down. Once vaccinations hit a certain point, I don't know what it is, I'm not smart enough to understand it. Once we hit that herd immunity or whatever that thing's called, like, it's going to be on. People are going to be ripping. So here's the punchline and the bottom line for me. If you don't have your infrastructure built yet, there's still time. There's still time for you to participate in the next roaring 20s. There just is. So whatever it is that you're doing, whether it be your 9-to-5 job, the side hustle job, you want to change the job, you want to start your business, you want to change your business. You want to do all of those things. Jen says, fingers crossed. I'm all in. I'm not a betting person, Jen. I am all in on second half of 2021 and beyond. I think this is going to be a 3-year economy after this herd immunity, whatever, that is going to be ripping. So you and I talk about starting the process and trusting the process and relying on the process. You and I put our process together about, 14 months ago?
Yep.
And it's now starting to bear huge fruit, which is great. There's still time now. It's the end of January, for God's sakes. You could put your process together between now and Memorial Day and then go out and have the audacity to ask for whatever it is that your product or service, for what you feel as though your time and product is worth, to participate in the next Roaring 20s. There is time to do it. You just need to do it.
Well, and I think that, like, the thing that you got to look at, it's all perspective. Like I understand, like, it's easy to, and again, like, I feel like I have to add the disclaimer every time. Every industry is different. Like bars and restaurants, like, I fucking feel for those guys.
Yep.
Like everybody else. Like, yeah, like COVID's fucked a lot of stuff up, but like not enough people realize what going virtual has meant to the positive side. Mm-hmm. We have never been closer to literally the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. We had calls in 3 different time zones yesterday.
Yeah.
And I can work with those guys as easily as I can work with someone down the street.
Yep.
And it's just how willing you are to adapt and look at the reality that's in front of you. And just to be honest, not a lot of people are, because it's easier to sit there and blame the governor than to, put in an extra 30 hours a week from 7 to 10 p.m. And so like, that's just kind of, and like the other thing you got to look at, like, just from, like, I'm no economist, but like, it's not like we hit a recession because the economy was in shambles. Like, we artificially shut it off, and it's one of those things where, like, it's not like everybody is like, I want to be careful because I'm going to say something that I don't want to say, but
I can't believe it.
Yeah. The moral of the story is, we're not coming out into the Great Depression, like you said. And, to use the whole working out analogy, like, summer's coming, and like, you don't get your 6-pack or like lose that 10 pounds from May to June. You have to start in January to be, you know what I mean? And it's very much the same thing here. And, it's just one of those things where, like, I almost feel like at this point, like you're either, like, if you're gonna do it, you're doing it right now. Mm-hmm. Or at the very least, like, what are we looking at here? So it's just, I'm treading lightly. I don't want to say anything overly brash, but like, you're so much more in control of your shit than people want to let themselves believe. And like, figuring that out and rewriting a process, like me, we've been in business 6 years here. There's people that have been in business for 60. And they're like, this has worked for 60 years. Like, I'm too old and too tired. I don't want to redo it, which I understand. Like, that's fine. But like, what's the alternative? Because like you said on a couple of calls this week, if you don't want to do it, it's fine. But somebody is. Right now, somebody is doing exactly what you're doing. And best case scenario, their product or their service is equal. If it's better and they're working harder than you and they're innovating, yikes. And like, that's just a reality. Like, it's not lost on me that, like, yes, like, I'm in an industry and I feel like we positioned ourselves where we can be very innovative and we can be moving very quickly. But I know for a fact there's other people doing it. And like, at the end of the day, like, if they're just better than we are for whatever reason, like, okay. But like, if they worked harder or they innovated faster, or if any of it is because I didn't do enough, I just can't sleep at night when that's a reality. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not always going to be the best. We're not always going to win every contract, and that's fine. But if we put out 10 proposals next month and we get 4 instead of 7 of them back because someone doesn't fully understand our proposal, or somebody doesn't fully think that we know our shit on LinkedIn and that's very important to them, or they have a question that I can't answer and that's why we lose it. I don't think so, partner.
Mm-hmm. It's the old adage for me is that there are very few, if not any, new ideas out there. There are very few. There is not a lot that is created from scratch that is so new that it's, you know, innovation I think takes different forms. For me, that's why I tell clients the number 1, 2, and 3 factor of getting something to market is speed, speed, and speed. Because if you're not doing it, 10 other people are innovating the exact same product, just like you said. That's why when I had my Come to Jesus meeting with client not to be named right now, is that's fine. We can continue to kick the tires. We can continue to do all of those things. But my mind is operating in Memorial Day right now. And pretty soon, probably next week, my mind's already operating on the 4th of July, just because I know how that's long it takes. So I went to my client and I said, fine, no big deal. I'll be involved if you want me to be involved. I won't be involved if you don't want me to be involved. But if we wait more than a week right now, you're going to miss Memorial Day. And if you miss Memorial Day, you're going to be sitting around the pool having a beer or having a drink that's not yours, by the way, kicking yourself. And you guys are going to be looking around at each other saying, we should have done this. And there's nothing more powerful in a negative way than saying, I should have done this. So again, the entire thesis of why you and I do this is we want people to win. This isn't Hungry Hippos where Adam and Ben get all the business and we do all the deals. That's not why you and I do this. We get messages from people that say, that really inspired me to think about my business in a different way and pivot and innovate so I can get better. Praise the Lord. Like that's why we do this. And we're people are reaching out saying, we want to hear more about the success stories. That's why Adam and I do this. We want other people to reach out and say, do you have an idea? We're not doing it so you become our client. That's not why we do this. It's us telling you what is working for us so that if you can take one small nugget and apply it to what you are currently doing, boom, everybody wins. I want all rising tide lifts all boats, man. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, like this, like life's not a zero-sum game.
Right.
Like one person winning doesn't mean that you lose.
Right.
Especially in our industry, you know, there are very few actual full service marketing agencies. You know, realistically, for the most part, you really specialize on, say, 60% of the pie. You might have offerings for the other 40% or farm it out or whatever, but for the most part, people have their specialties and you know who they are. So like we've worked dozens of times with other people, you know, like maybe we have a client that needs an elaborate website. Like I make no bones about it. Like if you need like a standard homepage about us contact form website, yeah, I got you. You need more than that? Like I'm not your dude. You know, I'm happy to farm that and partner with somebody else. You know, we had a meeting yesterday. We have a client that works with a bunch of hotels. Like you talked about an industry that got fucked last year, you know, but they are at the point where they have to be ready for the 4th of July. And we had to start talking about that now. And one thing that would be a huge asset for them is virtual tours of the facility. Ballrooms, outdoor wedding venue, whatever. Could I figure that out and put a price tag on it? Yeah. But A, that's going to chew up a ton of time I don't have. B, at best, out of the chute, I'll be a 6 out of 10 if all breaks right, when I think the rest of our stuff is a 9.8 out of 10. So what does that do for my first impression? I would much rather work with somebody else who's good at it and then have it be a team effort. And it's not like we're white labeling it, saying that we're doing it all. No, Matt's going to do it. This is him. This is his company. I believe in him a lot. Let's go. You know, and that's kind of the answer. And like, I chuckle when other people are like overly competitive in my industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like, listen, man, if they're better, hire them.
Right.
You know, for whatever reason, hire them.
Mm-hmm.
And the looks that gets is like, you know, like like you've been around, like I want people that want to work with us. I'm never going to convince you to come here or to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
If we're not a fit or if we stop being a fit, by all means, you know,
yep.
Go somewhere, like we'll stay friends. Everything is cool, you know, whatever. But yeah, man, it's just the opportunities and the potential that's out there.
It's astronomical. It's astronomical. You and I had this conversation a week and a half, 2 weeks ago when we started having calls in different time zones. And I told you my theory about working in different areas, about how money means different things in different areas. And I told you my story, and I really shortchanged myself because I didn't think. I didn't take 1 second to pause and say, this is a pretty affluent area. This person's probably done pretty well for themselves. That means, you know, my value probably goes up as a ratio of cost of living. Never even thought of it. I hit submit, and my now client goes, "Oh, that's it." I was like, "Great, way to leave money on the table. Way to should have taken negotiation 101 classes, right?" I just think, yeah, exactly. All right, we got about 5 minutes. I want to ask you this question. I've been meaning to ask you this question. Two questions. When you rewrote your proposal, what was that, about 13, 14 months ago now, right? It was kind of in that break 13 months ago.
Last Thanksgiving.
Thanks. Okay. So 14 months ago. Two questions. Why did you feel that you needed to, I'm going to emphasize a little bit. Why did you feel like you needed to kind of blow up your current model, which most people would deem as successful? Like you run a successful business. You're cash flow positive. You're adding clients all the time. Why did you feel, what in your gut told you that you needed to blow it up? And how long did it take you to rewrite it? And I want people to listen to this because it's almost like starting over. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So you started over almost like you were starting a new business. So when we talk about starting something or revamping something now, how long would it take you now to relaunch into the next Roaring 20s, which we hope is going to start, Memorial Day?
So the first question, why did we do it? In my opinion, and it wasn't anything catastrophic where we lost like half our client base, but we lost 3 clients that we shouldn't have. I could see it, and we did everything that we were supposed to do. The events, the promotion, they generated sales, but I had always, to a fault, been overly humble and overly a team guy where I didn't want to put the spotlight on us. Mm-hmm. But what I realized was by doing that, we were doing all of this stuff behind the scenes that clients, GMs, whoever didn't know about. Mm-hmm. So it was far easier to cut us for whatever reason mm-hmm. than if we documented everything up front. And just to be honest, like there just wasn't a lot of transparency or communication as to what we were doing, why we were doing it, and when. And yeah, people were cool and they let us go, but you almost have to kind of remind that, and timelines especially, hey, it's going to be 4 months before we really start trying to sell this. Yep. And if you don't, and like I learned, you have to reinforce and then that reinforcement to communicate that. So that was kind of the big thing. And I just realized that like the legitimacy of our offering in real life grew, and I needed our proposals to reflect that. I needed it to document and illustrate everything that we're going to do. And most importantly, get them to buy into that process so that they can see it and really understand it. So that was kind of the big thing. How long it took? It was tough, man. I'm weird. I think that that's so dependent on the individual or the business owner or whatever. Because as you know, I get a little obsessive over these things on occasion. So I remember it clear as day. It was the week before Thanksgiving break. I want to say it was the Tuesday of Thanksgiving. And I just had a meltdown. I'm like, our structure's not good enough. Our planning's not good enough. Like Dave was here. Alex came over from next door. And like, Alex, like, I've never seen you frustrated, let alone like that. And like, it's our shit. It's just not good enough. And then I had one night, it was like that. So we went through the rest of the week, gone, Wednesday night to Friday morning. And then Saturday that week, I came in here and I locked myself in the back and I mapped everything out. So like, I remember as clear as day, that following Monday, like Dave came in and, like our conference room is back here.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's that on the whiteboard? I'm like, oh, I rewrote everything. And he's like, I'm like, literally everything. This is what we're going to do. And then he just like stopped and like read it. And he's like, holy shit, it's perfect. I'm like, I know. And it's, I think that I know you got to go, but like, it's just, and like, that's when that day is when everything clicked to me, because I'm always watching and listening and seeing how people respond to what we do, whether it's in person, whether it's on Zoom call, whether it's the tone of their emails. I'm constantly paying attention to that. So it was very easy for me to see these are the 6 things I need to do better.
Yep.
And then from there, also, we're constantly just paying attention to these platforms and what's working and what's not. And like, you looked at like what LinkedIn is now for a B2B platform versus 14 months ago, it's night and day. And I created it, so now we can change that. So if we have to adjust the LinkedIn offering, you've seen it. Everything's compartmentalized. So it's so much easier. Hey, we're doing these 3 extra things. Of course, it's going to cost more. So it's just constantly paying attention and constantly evolving and constantly learning and constantly changing.
And being self-aware that when it's not working, you have to rebuild it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Ideally, you realize it 6 months before it stops working.
I'm going to pick on you for a minute, and then I need a nugget from you. Hang on.
Do it.
So I sent you a message. I responded to your LinkedIn story, and you didn't respond to me. So that's number 1.
Well, I was going to, yeah.
Number 2, Brian asks, he wants to know, Brian, you must have missed the beginning of the podcast. Adam gave a little nugget for our guys in Canada. So can you show, I don't think they would care. If you can show Brian.
I am nervous about it, but Brian, I can tell you this, you will see it very, very soon.
Brian, you're going to be, I love to bust Adam's chops, but you're going to be like, this is, how do I want to say this? This is Disco Lemonade-esque style level of excellence is what I'm going to say. I'm giving my partner a lot of props, but I do believe in it. The nugget I will drop is I just got approval with the team to do a project with Trippie Redd. So you can go ahead and Google that. I will send
add to the list of shit I'm not cool enough to know yet.
It's gonna be very Fago-esque is the only thing I will tell you. So it's gonna be Trippie Redd project. It's going to be I can probably say it's gonna be a strawberry better for you style soda carbonated beverage. I will leave it at that.
Sounds like it's right up my alley.
It mixes great with vodka, by the way. All right. Brian says, got out of work, missed the very beginning. That's okay. We're going to get permission. Brian, we're going to get permission from the coolest, like you're not supposed to have favorite clients. You're not. But this guy is the guy you want to sit down and have a lot of beer with. Is the guy.
Correct.
He is one of our favorites. All right. I got to run. I got to go for a 1. I have a very big call I have to mentally prep for, stay in my flow. So if you're watching, a lot of people on Facebook, thank you. If you're watching it on YouTube afterwards, walking the dogs, we appreciate it. Or we'll get around to this iTunes and Spotify thing. It's only been a year, so maybe we can get around to iTunes and Spotify, which is completely on me. So I'm calling myself out again, but
it's a good resolution for 2021.
So I always screw up the episode number. I think it's 44, right?
43. I looked before. I wouldn't have known.
Episode 43. All right. Well, as always, we know that the only thing you can't buy back is your time, and you spent a little time with us today. So we appreciate that. Have an amazing weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
Hey, mahalo, cuz.
Mahalo.